Before Guillaume could join with his liege's army, he needed to gather his own men and organize them into fighting order. To do this, he first needed to get a lay of the land. A collection of large rocks caught Guillaume's eye. Wary of hidden threats, he decided to investigate. Guillaume discovered a recently abandoned camp. A closer look would determine which direction the men went. Happy knowing that his men were nearby, Guillaume refocused his attention. Guillaume set off in search of his men, scouting the surroundings as he moved.
Prêt suis pour Normandie. Avant chevauche.
With each gallop of his horse's hooves, more of Guillaume's land was revealed to him.
Uth honor et force. Chevauche. Will Laves.
Guillaume had found his spearmen. However, they would need to be organized and prepared for battle, after which he could continue searching for the rest of his forces. With his spearmen found, Guillaume was one step closer to reclaiming his dukedom. First, he would need to organize them under his command. Only then could he continue his search for the rest of his forces. He gathered his spearmen and coordinated them into proper rank and file.
Lantiers! Bovens vassals.
Guillaume knew that his men would need to follow his every command in the coming battle, and so he assigned them as a group under his control.
Lantiers, si!
Guillaume's spearmen were now a respectable fighting unit. It was time to march on in search of more reinforcements.
chose est vert ce que dei.
Guillaume's cousin and treacherous rebel Guy de Bourgogne had erected a wooden palisade along the path in an attempt to halt Guillaume's progress. However, this was no problem for his spearmen, who destroyed it with ease.
Seietos triuntanus!
An enemy patrol had been scouting the area. Guillaume knew that his spearmen were the perfect counter and saw this as an opportunity to test their mettle.
Apprestez-vous de férir et allez!
Victoria!
With his spearmen now proven in battle, Guillaume and his men moved on. A group of enemy archers blocked Guillaume's path. He knew their long range would give them a distinct advantage over his spearmen. As luck would have it, a regiment of his loyal horsemen had been spotted close by.
Quid mandes? Cavallarios parats! Odio!
Guillaume once again proved he was a shrewd tactician. He knew his horsemen had the speed to run down and defeat the much slower archers. With his horsemen now battle-hardened, Guillaume focused on locating his own regiment of archers.
Quid ordines? L'avancement des masses. Bene audite. Attention.
Dan safe vostre comand.
Guillaume found his archers hidden within a quiet village. They reported that a group of enemy spearmen were on their way to secure the area. Guillaume noticed the hill nearby and knew it would be a perfect spot for an ambush.
Sagita in arco. Momentesi archier. Perfecte. Obedio.
Guillaume's plan once again proved true. His archers shot down the enemy spearmen from their strategic position. With his forces now gathered under his command, Guillaume prepared to rendezvous with his ally, King Henri I of France.
Arco parat, Quemandes, Arquier parat, Sagitaina Quemandes.
Dieu merci. Os honor et force.
Now bolstered by his liege's forces, Guillaume marched to battle.
Pour Andrei.
The time had finally come. Guy and his rebel army stood in open defiance against the combined forces of Guillaume and King Henri. Guillaume had mastered numerous skills, and now it was time to put those skills to the test. Henri had granted Guillaume the right to initiate the attack, and on his order, the fight for his dukedom would begin.
Sì, parat.
Scara formata.
Cavallarios in avant.
It was during this battle that Guillaume first demonstrated his prowess as a warrior of Viking descent. He single-handedly turned the tide of battle and inspired his men to victory. With his forces depleted, Guy de Brion was utterly defeated and fled. It was said that the dead were so numerous they floated downstream and clogged the local water wheel. It was this victory at Valesdune where Guillaume first displayed his militaristic genius and demonstrated his fighting prowess. It was here that he established himself as the undisputed Duke of Normandy. (1065). And Guillaume is marching west to deal with the last threat to his duchy, the Duke of Brittany-Conan-Deux. Chateau de Dinan was a formidable fortress, and would need an impressive army to siege its walls and bring down the keep. Guillaume entrusted the raising of such an army to his wife, Mathilde de Flandre, Duchess of Normandy. First, Mathilde would need to gather resources, a job for her loyal villagers. Resources were essential in constructing buildings and producing units, and could be found all across the land. But Mathilde knew the most important resource to begin gathering was food.
Good eagle.
Food was key in recruiting villagers and military units. More villagers would be required if she was to raise a large army. To do this, she turned to her town center, an important landmark where new villagers could be recruited. Villagers could also construct a variety of military and economic buildings. Some of these buildings were used to make resource gathering more efficient, such as the mill.
Spero.
Mathilde ordered construction of the mill close to the berry bushes, as an alternative drop-off point for her villagers. Next was wood, a key resource in the construction of many buildings and essential to the success of any town. Mathilde constructed a lumber camp close to a forest, a good source of wood.
Me? Tabou.
With a healthy supply of food, the village could start to grow. To do so, it would need more hands to share the work.
Ascolto. Che?
The town could no longer grow without additional homes. Mathilde ordered her villagers to construct new houses to accommodate the growing population.
Ascolto. Lavoro. Me. Ma sono.
Ubi vado.
Further growth required knowing the countryside and finding more resources. For that, communities employed scouts.
Mandes? Si.
Able to move quickly and see great distances, scouts were key to discovering new resources.
Cavallo. Si. Escolto.
Sì. Ubi vado?
Paras.
Sì, bene.
Capere.
Intendo.
Sì.
It was time for Mathilde to begin gathering the resource that ruled the known world: gold. Fortunately, a gold vein could be found nearby, and Mathilde set her villagers to work mining it.
Mais. Edifico.
With her food supply running low, Mathilde constructed farms to replace the depleted berry bushes. They would provide a constant supply of food.
Ubi vado?
Sì. Edifico.
Spero.
Ah.
Ma sono.
Me?
Finit.
Ma sono. Sì, lavorance.
Like all great leaders, Mathilde made expert use of local government. They aided her in organizing the villagers and assigned them roles within the settlement.
Lavorance la terre. Seco.
Mathilde's small town was now thriving and ready to progress to the next age of prosperity. To mark the occasion and celebrate her villagers, Mathilde ordered the construction of a landmark.
Si.
Perfect. Ascolto.
Landmarks allowed a settlement to grow, granting access to more complex buildings and veteran units.
What? Ma sono.
Buon lavoro.
Terra bene.
The town had grown from just a handful of villagers to a fully established settlement. Mathilde had erected a landmark, announcing to the land that this town was a blossoming settlement. It was the perfect platform from which to forge an army and launch a siege on Conan's castle.
Méflecte.
It was time to build an army. Mathilde had everything she needed to amass a force capable of bringing down the walls of Dinan. Mathilde was aware of Conan's powerful horsemen. She knew spearmen would prove to be a useful counter. They would make up the core of her army.
Parades pour la bourrard. Six hommes. Cos'è sarà massonata? Io massono da cose. Vado a capere.
Parade pour la bourrard. Vado la bourrard. Me anos la carna.
Prompte. Tourma. Vale. Lanquier parate. Tourma. Lanquier parate. Vale. Prompte. Tourma.
Mathilde then turned her attention to producing her own horsemen, a particular strength of the Normans.
La bourse Pérance. La de la bourra. Parat porvenir. Io ma sono una cose. Buon lavoro. Bene, bene. Retourneau comme matériel. Anas la carna. Si.
Cavalbarat, comprendo.
Venez scolter.
Qu'est demandé?
Venez.
Veillance, l'ennemi!
Venez auditer.
L'encaissons prononça! In avance! L'encaisse paratas! Vivo!
Ordines.
Si, parat.
Quid mandes? Cavallerio parat. Amen your course. Cavallerio parat. Quid ordines? Si, parat. Cavallo. Quid ordines? Quid mandes? Cavallerio parat. Odite servientes. Parat. Quid ordines? Quid mandes?
With the horsemen saddled and ready for war, Mathilde was confident they would be able to deal with any archer threat that may appear. Archers would be a useful tool to have in her own army, so Mathilde began the production of skilled bowmen.
Mandes quid? essere ammassonata. Quelle, vado a lavorare. Den effekt. Med pläkt.
Attention! Obeio! Herr Sultan! Ihr Biesjes Bock!
Les Malsons sont ici!
Succession! Générosité.
Archière parate. Sagittai in arco. Archière parate. Arco parate. Sagittai in arco. Archière parate. Arco parate.
Guillaume was accompanied by an unusual ally, the powerful Anglo-Saxon Earl, Harold Godwinson. They were met with a sprawling town and a mighty army. Mathilde had done her job as Duchess flawlessly, something Guillaume was very much used to. She would remain behind and efficiently run the settlement, while Guillaume marched against Conal. Guillaume knew this would not be an easy siege, but was confident in his forces and his own abilities as a leader. Guillaume and Harold set off to the castle of Dinan.
Obéissance.
Quemandes.
Cavale parate. Vale.
Prompte. Si. Quemandes.
On Monarch, you hear, sir. Le royal cotide!
Ennemi, viens!
Obedience est virtus.
This was the Château de Dinan, Conal's stronghold in Brittany. With its capture, Brittany would never be in a position to threaten Normandy again. To capture it, Guillaume needed to seize Conal, who had barricaded himself inside the keep atop the hill. He sounded the charge and laid siege to the keep.
Odite.
Suis. Où est la gente ennemie? Prête suis.
Brittany was no longer a threat. Mathilde's administrative expertise had once again proved essential to Guillaume's strength. Harold was rewarded with arms, men, and even a knighthood. According to Norman historians, it was here that Harold swore on holy relics to support Guillaume in his claim to the English throne. An oath sworn was a form of contract, recognized by law and church. Breaking one sworn upon a holy relic would be like breaking a contract with God, and thus have dire consequences. For now, it appeared that Guillaume had formed a strong alliance. However, it would not take long for it to lay in tatters. Guillaume and Harold would come to clash at one of the most infamous battles in history. It is January the 5th, 1066, and Edward the Confessor, King of England, is dead. Harold Godwinson, Earl of Wessex, is elected King of England the following day by the Witan. Harold also claimed that Edward named him his successor upon his deathbed. For Guillaume, this was an absolute betrayal. He believed the throne of England was his by right. He needed to ferry a massive army, with their supplies, armor, weapons and horses, across the body of water now known as the English Channel. He began construction of a dockyard capable of building his fleet.
Parade pour la bourrare. Vado la bourrare. Quedabur? Io ma sono la cose.
Mondesqued? Cos'è sarà massonata?
Felice et beate. Benefect.
Mondes?
With his fleet now built, Guillaume set about the momentous task of loading his forces.
Mondes? Si? Quito Monsita. Odite Ordines. Servientes, attention!
Homes, preparate!
Pace scolci! In avant! Mandement viette!
Odite!
Odite Ordines!
Presente l'encaisse.
Servientes, attention!
With the winds now more favorable, and reports of Harold's army marching north to fight off a Viking threat, Guillaume was finally ready to launch his invasion. He plotted his course and set sail for England.
Pace, escolci! Sieme!
Norman historians tell us Guillaume received consent for the invasion from Pope Alexander II, thus making a conquest of England a holy mission. Guillaume would land at the old Roman fort of Pevensey. The Anglo-Saxons had taken up residence inside, but they would prove no match for Guillaume's trained soldiers. He landed his forces and took the settlement.
Mandement viette! Perfecté! est.
Si, sito. Qui est?
Perfecte.
La Dieu merci. Seigneur Samariens de partir. Obéir est vertus.
Audite, servientes.
Os honor et force.
Les Smolsons sont ici. Los Menetem.
Apprestez-vous de périr et allez.
Vieni, vieni.
Brucia mon cheval pour caccier ennemi.
Bene audite.
Prête suis pour Normandie.
Si. Oyez, oyez. Cavallo ici. Comprendo. Ambulo. Qu'une grande course. Cavallo ici. Esfect. Oyez, oyez. Veillance l'ennemi!
The promise of land and riches in England had spread far and wide. Knights and mercenaries alike flocked to Guillaume's cause in the hopes of attaining great rewards. A large number arriving from the recently subdued Brittany.
Pour André. Sei de conquistar. Tuit confundissunt. Sergeant, mostrez vostre courage. We're on rate. Prez suit la giunta verso Cerce.
Buenos días.
Sis cum est de baron.
Guillaume now had a foothold in England. From here, he would have time to secure his location and resupply his forces before marching north and meeting Harold in battle. It would be at Senlac Hill that Guillaume, Duke of Normandy, would come to be forever known as William the Conqueror.